This week we're still talking loving kindness, but this time, or I should say, and this time, I'm going to talk to you about how ridiculously tough it is to just accept that we are loved, that we are full of love, that we can give love, that we are worthy of love. And because if we can't step into believing it, then all the rest of the stuff we talk about is wishful thinking. It's wishful thinking. I mean, we've all been to those, I don't know if it's a center, a whole center full of people who just say a lot of wishful things and nothing ever happens. Or is it just the cynical person that goes in and looks at it and says, no, you're crazy. This is not, what are you talking about? I mean, I can list all the wars, and I can list all the famine, and I can list all the injustices. So when you tell me it's all good, I say nay, sir. And of course, that's how we feel when we're waiting for the external world to define how love should feel, how happiness should look. When we start with the idea of perfection and then look up and look around, you're guaranteed nothing's going to look like the idea of perfection. Now, which one of these things is wrong? I mean, we see there's a delta. I can tell you right now that there's a difference between the ideal situation and what's happening right now. So which one of these things is the problem? I want to know what you think. Which one do you think? Because part of me says, well, gosh, I feel like situations are just the way they are. They are not good nor bad. They just are. And then here we come with a whole backstory and we deem things good or bad, like a fairy godmother with a little wand going, bling, you're good. Bling, you're bad. And then another part of me says, but then how would you ever have some high ideal to strive toward if you couldn't tell the difference between good and bad and right or wrong? And I'm just trying to say it's all exactly where it should be, because it's up to us to bring our awareness in. We're supposed to bring our awareness in and notice when we are separating ourselves from a situation and then judging it and deeming it to be good or bad. That's where the awareness needs to step in. And then the cool part is that what we do about it is up to us. We get to choose. And it's kind of cool when you choose something on purpose versus have it chosen for you because you refuse to choose. It's like Tamara and I always joke about, you would never go into a restaurant and look at a menu and then close it and then say, I'll be fine with whatever happens. Whatever you bring me, I'll be fine. Like, we don't do that. We talk about life as one of those interactive, sort of choose your own adventure kind of journeys where you are participating fully in your experience. Although many of us don't know that because we're not awakened to the fact that we're choosing, nonetheless, we are choosing. Even when we refuse to pick, we're still choosing not to pick. Like, we are at choice. And then when things happen as a result of our choices or as a result of our lack of choosing, or even because we just happen to show up at the wrong spot, when things happen, we are at another choice point. How are we going to respond? How are we going to respond? Because in those moments, that's where the divine gets in. That's where the light shines in to our experience. It's not a situation where we watch the world go by and we get to choose whether it's good or bad. All that is just from spectator vision. But what I'm talking about is participatory activity. We participate in the life we want to lead. And yes, sometimes it means cultivating that inner sense of being loved and then letting that pour out into the world. Notice I said cultivate the sense of being loved and then letting that sense of love pour out of us and into the world. So that's what Tamara was doing. She was doing the may I be and may I know the love, and then may you know the love. It all comes from us. But that's the tricky part. What if you were never shown that? And so for me, as I told you, my life tends to unfold in quite comical, yet curious, yet fascinating ways. And I recently stumbled across a video with one of my favorite actresses on it, and she's also happens to have a doctorate degree in neuroscience, but that's just Mayim Bialik. That's how she rolls. And if you've ever seen her play Amy on The Big Bang Theory, you know who I'm talking about. So she's got this podcast that she runs. It's a video. I watch her on video on YouTube, and I'm looking at YouTube, and I'm trying to come up with some AI talk that I'm going to do for my other line of work. And I'm looking, and she's Mayim, and her co-host, names, sue me. It'll show up in a second. I'll show you the clips. There are 2 clips I made of this long podcast. And the thing I'm talking about that happens comically yet magically and amazingly in my life is that once I'm told something, it's as if the universe says, tell her again. Say it louder for the people in the back. And I hear it again and again and again, like 3 times usually. And for me, it's the love aspect that we started last week. And then I stumble across this video. And then I go to dream study. If these things, it's like y'all got together and said, ooh, let's get Charlene to notice some stuff. Well, it worked. I get it. So I'll walk you through the little garden that happens to be my mind, and I think you'll enjoy it because, come on, we're all connected. So there I was listening to the podcast, and this woman gets on, and I'll give you a little backstory, and I'll show you the 2 clips that I saved. But for her, it's also 3 signals from the universe she looks for too. But this lady and me, we're nothing alike, yet we're exactly alike. She happened to have had a horrible childhood. Not like me, I didn't have a horrible childhood. She was addicted. Like me, I was addicted. I had an eating disorder. But she was addicted in a whole other level, like heroin, and she would prostitute herself. Okay, not like me. But I get it, though. I mean, you do tomato, right? Listen, this woman, she juiced herself up so much with drugs that she finds herself on her bathroom floor, and she has a near-death experience. And then she meets her father on the other side, and he says to her, you are worthy of all the love in the universe. And she's just like, oh, nah. Now, that was the first time. So the second and the third times that she heard this, I'm going to let her tell you herself, because I do not give it enough heft. You'll see what I'm talking about. Let me go into the share mode again. And yeah, tell me what you think.
Healed out of day 3 of heroin withdrawal. Moments before, I was sick all over myself, welcoming death, and then here I was completely well and healed and fine. And I was crying out. I threw myself on the ground. I'm crying out, how could this be happening to me? I don't believe in this.
You could tell you were healed.
Absolutely. It was instantaneous. I was just in agonizing pain, and then all of a sudden I was completely fine. And I threw myself on the ground, and I was crying out like, I'm not worthy of this. Like, you could not have picked a more unworthy person to bestow this kind of grace on. And for the contrast, I was a militant atheist, an orphan to suicide, a liar, manipulator, thief, prostitute, drug addict, terrible human being. And I was completely covered in grace and healing. And as I was affirming, I'm not worthy of this, I'm not worthy of this, I heard them chanting, but you're worthy of all the love in the universe.
That's what your dad said.
You're worthy of all the love in the universe. Healed.
Oh, you're worthy of all the love in the universe, repeated over and over and over again. It's that first time she heard that, when she was on the bathroom floor, and then, so first time she heard it, well, she was on the bathroom floor, and then she kind of had the near-death experience, saw her body, and then she moved into the other realm, and and her father said that to her. And in between, the part between the first time she heard, you are worthy of all the love in the universe, she was taken on a little journey by the other side, whatever that is. And you can read all kinds of stories. It's not my role here to teach you about near-death experiences, but when you're curious and you go deep into the rabbit hole, you'll find it fascinating. What's important, though, is that she learned that she was part of a bigger plan, that she had chosen her experience here, and that, yes, my childhood was kind of terrible, but you kind of opted into that so that you'd have that kind of contrast that you can then begin to heal in the rest of your life. And so she was fighting with them. If you listen to this video, go and watch it. She says, I don't want to go back. I don't want to. You lied. I was so excited to come to Earth, and it was horrible. Don't make me go back into that body. And they told her, well, you could go into this other little baby that's nearby, but I mean, and she's like, dag nabbit, that's even worse. So this is the point where you just watched, where they kind of took her face, even though there were no faces, it's just orbs of light or whatever, and they were like, you are worthy of all the love in the universe. And that's why Mayim said, that's what your dad said. And so these angels at this point were trying to convince her to go back down into that broken body. And she was like, nah, I'm good. Don't want to do it. And they told her, oh, you'll be better. You're actually going to change things. So she goes back into her body, and then she's in her body, and she does not immediately embrace her newfound understanding. And you'll hear her tell the story that at first she just says, oh, I was super high, so I'm not going to get that high again. And she tries to go out and keep doing prostitution and being high. But the universe kept getting in her way. She said that her 10 drug dealers all quit. They just quit. They found Jesus. They wouldn't sell her drugs anymore, but she'd find them anyway. She goes, because I'm a drug addict. That's what we do. And then she went and found some drugs, and then, oh, they got wet, or they were bad, or something would always get in the way of a really good high. And so she's like, dag nabbit, fine. And she started to go into withdrawal. So on the third day of withdrawal, the angels on the other side or whatever, I don't understand it either. They told her to ask for healing. And so she asked for healing. And then they healed her. Like literally took little mowing lawnmowers and healed out her pain receptors and blah, blah, blah story. You can listen to it. And I guess what I love about this, that it is in that third clip where she finally realizes, okay, so the healing happened. I'm no longer in withdrawal. And she goes, just like a typical druggie, I then thought, well, then I'm amazing. Well, then I'm here to save the world. And she started going on subways, and now she's that girl telling everybody that God is here to save them. And she found herself finally at a meeting where she could get some support, a 12-step program to support her through her journey. And that's that third clip that I started, where she said she walked in, and she walks in, mind you, the first 2 times she heard, you are worthy of all the love in the universe. Of course she didn't believe it, and of course that's kind of in a dream state. Nobody ever told me this in real life. And that's why that third clip. So if you will indulge me, now now it will make sense that the third clip.
And my eyes were dead.
With that concept, she takes us to the first time. Now, mind you, she's walking around no longer taking drugs, but also looking a hot mess. She said her teeth were gone and she had to have them replaced. She had holes in her face. She looked a hot mess. And she walks in to a meeting. And this is what happens when she walks into the meeting.
Eyes were dead, and everything was just so dead on me. And so I walk into this, it was a women's meeting, and I walked into this room, and this woman grabbed me as soon as I walked through the door, and she hugged me so tight. And she whispered in my ear, and she said, you are worthy of all the love in the universe. You are worthy of all the love in the universe. And I melted, and I had this deep guttural cry. This was my deepest moment of surrender. And I rested my head on her big boobies for as long as she would let me. And I just really seriously cried because the whole thing it felt like psychosis. It felt like delusions of grandeur. I kept hearing this message, I'm worthy of all the love in the universe. Me? Like I'm a POS. Like I'm not worthy of anything. But all those voices were invisible. And now I'm with an actual tangible person that is holding me and whispering in my ear and saying the exact same words.
So that's that. So listen, this is what I think happens to us. And I know that this happens for me. And then when hearing her talk about it happening to her, there's something about you too. There's something about you that you heard a whisper of it and you didn't really believe it. You're like, yeah, whatever. Was it that you walked into a center or something and they were like, oh, it's all love, it's all God, and you're like, but there's so much angst in the world and you logic yourself out of it because it's an idea that sounds attractive, but what is it about it that sometimes we're just so jaded? We're like, no. We're batting it away as if they're attack drones, right? What if the universe then tries another time and says, but you're worthy, in her case, of all the love in the universe. And then she's like, that sounds familiar. And now a human being with skin on it says it to me. And I love how that's the moment where she crumpled and she allowed someone to love her. And later on, because I could only make 1 minute clips each, later on she says, well, maybe, so I don't know if I'm worthy of all the love in the universe, but maybe I'm not a POS. Maybe. Like she gave herself a little bit of grace. And I feel like for us, every one of us who are wherever we are in our journey, where we have an idea about who we are, who we could be. We have an idea, but then we're so mired in the negativity in all the disappointment. How many times have we hoped that things would go a certain way? Hello, November. And then it goes another way, and now we're like, oh my God, right? Well, how we're so disappointed that sometimes we're jaded and then we keep ourselves in that because we'd rather stay jaded than be hopeful and then smack down yet again. And so this is the part where when we hear those words, may I have love, may I be free from attachment, may I and may you, those are just words. They're words until you believe that you are worthy. I know you believe I'm worthy. I get it. I believe everybody else is worthy, but then it's like, oh yeah, but me though, yikes. I mean, I've seen me and it could be quite a mess. Even me. So if we could start here and love ourselves here, that experience of love, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances, because the circumstances are just going to be what they are. And if we bring love to it, ooh, what could that do? Instead of walking in and, I don't see any love here. Exactly. So maybe we should bring some. This is the idea that I am hoping that the more I talk about it, the more I'm going to do it, right? That's what we do. We teach what we most need to learn. And I really am convicted about this. I really know that I've seen lots of people on their journey, including me. There's an idea that happiness is something that you should be able to think yourself into. No. Happiness is not, love is not something you should be able to think yourself into. That thinking mind, it has more negative stuff about you than positive. I hate to bring you the truth, but it's facts. You will remember the negative thing people said about you and forget all the positive things that people keep saying about you. It's called the negativity bias. The brain was put together to protect the human. And it looks out for things that might scare us, and it just negates whatever's good. So there's something else in us that can align us with the good and the highest, and that's our heart. And so if we could get our heart involved a little more, give it a little more of the load, and take a little more of the load off of the brain or the head, then maybe a head-heart combination. This is not new stuff. We hear this all the time. The head and the heart, when aligned, will move mountains. You will manifest so fast what you really want. If your heart is like, yes, I love, woo, making me bigger. And the head's like, oh yeah, let's go. When they're in alignment and pointed in a particular direction, everything just moves. They're like, all right, let her in, let her through. No one's stopping you. You have the divine at your fingertips. It's that conflict, though, that conflict that is mostly inside, where we can't even find compassion for ourselves. That's where we get to soften, allow, accept, and love that person that thinks that they do not deserve any love. This POS, I don't deserve any love. Yes, even you deserve all of the love of the universe. Let's just take that in and let's go into prayer. Now let me check and see if there's any requests for prayer. Just knowing that there is a divine energy pulsating and giving of itself through all things, that there's one life, one God, if that's what you would like to call it, or just call it spirit or source or divine potentiality. Whatever it is the backing of all things that exist. It is the underneath of all of life. And through this substrate, we are connected. We are connected to one another in ways we don't even understand. When we think of one another, that person appears. And we are so entwined. Some call it entangled in a quantum way, that we are one with this divine love. Therefore, no matter where we are, no matter who we think we've been in the past, even now, right where we are, there is divine love happening. It is right here, right now. You don't have to move. You don't have to perform. You don't have to live up to or measure up to or qualify, or you don't have to do anything. Just breathing in and saying, I am. And add anything after that that you want to have in your life, knowing that you already are that. Well, look at the barriers just crumble. I am love. I am abundance. I am peace. Notice how everything that does not line up with that high vibration, well, it scatters. Like the darkness does when the light switch is turned on. There's a nothingness from whence it came, and a nothingness to which it will return. Because when we get aligned with our highest truth, I know for you, I know for me, I know for each and every person that's listening to this, I know that we are divine emanations of the One. And that changes everything. So I speak my word into the law, knowing that it is already unfolding as spoken into the lives of each and every one of us. It will ripple out. It is rippling out even now to affect even those in the far-flung reaches of this planet. We get to change the world by changing ourselves and aligning ourselves with our highest and our truth. And so I release this word knowing that it's already unfolding. I simply say, thank you, life. Thank you, God. Thank you, Mother, Father, God. I release my word. I let it go. And so it is. Amen. Ashe. And now let's hear from Leah.